Good morning, members. It is 10:05 a.m. and I call this Ways and Means meeting to order. Before us, we have the Department of Public Safety. Thank you, Commissioner and team, for making yourself present today. Also, we have Ms. Vicky and her staff from OMB. Thank you again. And with that, we do have a quorum to conduct today's agenda. Um, we do have some members that are currently attending MIF, so they won't be able to make it. We also have new members, uh, Chairwoman Marissa Flores of JGO and Chairman Malcolm Omar from Health and Welfare. Thank you for accepting your appointment. And with that, um, can I get a motion to adopt today's agenda? There has been a motion, has been seconded. All those in or discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. We'll move on to public comments. Is there anybody in the gallery that would like to comment on today's agenda, which is DPS and their request for funding? And with being there's none, may I call the Commissioner Macaronas and his, I guess, team to be present, and then I guess Miss Vicky, you can have one seat. We're kind of limited here, and then we'll just have Commissioner call upon, I guess, the department heads to present in case we have questions. Just be present. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we still have maybe you want OMB can consider there. You're representing the DPS, right? So yeah, you can. Okay, sure, you can call. Well, thank you again, Commissioner, and for making yourself present today, and your team. And with that, I will now hand over the floor to you for your opening remarks. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman and members of this body. Thank you, and once again for inviting us to this budget hearing, my first budget hearing as an appointee. Um, I would like to introduce you to my team. To my right, to your left, I have Assistant Chief of Police Paul Gomer, who is currently the officer in charge of motor vehicle. To his left will be Mrs. Esther de los Reyes, who is the current Department of Public Safety Human Resource. Next to her is the Director of Administration, will be Ms. Kay Enos, and to my right, to my left, to your right will be the Director of Police, Aniceto Gomro. I know that there's going to be questions that you're going to ask me, and I'll try as much as I can to answer those questions. As you know, that when I entered the department, I incurred several obstacles and several things that will need to be addressed before I actually come and sit in front of you. But I am staying within the budget submission of the governor. But I would also here to answer questions and questions that you have pertaining to the department's activities. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner, for that opening. We had short recess. Um, Thank you, Commissioner, again for your opening remark. As you understand the challenges that the department faces, obviously it's the big discrepancy between the your department's request and the governor's submittal, and with over 3 million in difference, the difference, how does the department um, would sustain itself, knowing the fact that what you requested or the department requests and what the submittal had that large discrepancy. So, how does the department, I guess, would sustain itself with that big difference? Is it mostly on overtime, or the big difference between what you submitted and what the governor has submitted?
Mr. Chairman, the current that we see this, we were not given any budget for operations, but we were able to continue to find ways how to uh, sustain some of the services like the utilities, gas, repairs of the patrol vehicles or vehicles that's owned by DPS by going through other funding measures to address that issue. As far as overtime, I know that the overtime it's either it exceeded or it's surpassed. But the only reasons that I could say about the fluctuation numbers of overtime is because of the lack of police officers that we have on hand that to supplement the officers that left the department, and the the incurring requests of community service that they ask us to provide public services to the community itself. It's either private, religious, or government.
Thank you. And maybe, I mean, I do see the difference. I understand you have revolving funds and grants to make up for it. Um, the Secretary of Finance has submitted, I guess, the annual report last year. We budgeted 4.5 million, um, and I believe there's an increase. Is that correct, Miss Vicky? An increase, what was budgeted last year at 20, Public Law 23-4, which is 4.5 to DPS. They didn't, or there's a, I guess what they expended, there was, I believe, a savings of 50,000. So a lot of the cuts was under, oh, most of the cuts was under the police side, which is 1.7 million. So there is, I guess, an increase if you really look at it, from what you requested and what was actually expended last year. So is that correct figure, Miss Vicky, with regards to the annual report that was submitted to the legislature?
Well, the budget how it's presented, if you look at it, it's 87.5. It's it's everybody got a cut across the board. So although their request is way more than what the governor has provided, we wanted to make sure that all of the current active officers are funded at a percentage. There is also a funding source that the governor had obtained for law enforcement, which is through OIA, which DPS also got, a portion of that allocation. And what we do with that funding is we do an expense transfer out of the general fund into that OIA grant that was allocated for law enforcement, which
Okay.
is corrections, fire, DPS.
Okay. I actually apologize. It's the report from 2023, which was the lowest I've ever seen DPS. Um, I guess maybe that clarifies. So based out of the report submitted for FY 2023, the department was at a positive 50,000 more or less. I guess because of some of the grants. Uh, and should it carry over to 2024, which is this year? I mean, I'm not sure. I haven't seen any reports yet on the actual expense and where we at with DPS.
So again, for FY 2025, the governor intends to submit another request to OIA for some funding for the law enforcement. So that would supplement whatever, the shortfall is with DPS.
At the 87.2, where because I understand DPS was the few agencies that got 100%, correct? So where would the 12%
The
come from?
12.5%.
Right.
Um, I think currently it's eaten with in the current general fund, and then we just do an expense transfer.
Okay. Um, because last fiscal year or this fiscal year that we have budgeted, they were budgeted at 100%. Right now they're down to 87 point something. So my question is where's is this gonna come out of the revolving fund or the grants that are coming in or that they're currently using? Um,
So no one in the central government was allocated for any operating expenses, and um, we would anticipate that the department would utilize again the flexibility if the legislature would include it again in the appropriation measure for FY 2025, so that they can continue to utilize their special fund. And also we would like to encourage the department to utilize federal programs if it's allowed by the grantor for expenses that are not accommodated under the general fund.
okay. Maybe Miss K can update us on the expense that's going on right now. I mean, where are we at with the current year to date with regards to your operation and personnel?
So we didn't get any operations for last year. What we're using now is we have like 250,000 from Compact Impact, and then we have a little left over from the one Miss Vicky was talking about, the one from OIA, and then we use our special funds, whatever we have. Our three biggest expenses are the fuel, CUC, and IT&E. We're still able to pay that. We started paying it by ourselves, if I'm not mistaken, maybe like already 4 months. So we're still able to pay that, and we're still able to stay afloat. For how long, I don't know.
Okay. Commissioner, vehicles. I mean, how many vehicles does the department have right now?
Mr. Chairman, with the current DPS owned vehicles, 136 vehicles. Um, with a total, with vehicles that have been lent out to other government agencies, and that includes other vehicles that are out of service. It's a total of 152 vehicles.
Thank you for that, Commissioner. I will now open it to the floor. Recognize the Vice Chairman. Or are you leading to Representative Camacho?
Okay, thank you, Chair. I wanted to talk about the personnel NOPs. Commissioner, you have listed here 185 NOPs. Of that 185, there are 42 vacancies, right? That's a lot of vacancy. So, if you have 42 vacancies under all police officers, how does that affect your overtime? A lot, right?
A lot, Congressman.
Yeah. So, Chair, if we cannot fill those vacancies, we gotta load them up with overtime money. Think so? Hey, until we are able to fill that.
Um, with regards to the overtime, I'm just looking at last fiscal year. I'm gonna request the Department of Finance as the update as to where they're at with the current number of NOPs and versus the overtime. So that's something I'm gonna have to look at. I don't have any reports right now with me from the department. And as to the vacants, maybe a follow up to Rep Camacho's with the vacancies, the department planning to hold another cycle. Is there a shortage in police officers right now? And as far as I mean, we can see the vacants here, and we understand some of the grant can pay for the hiring of the next cycle. That's from what I can see from the grants. Is that something the department is planning to, I guess, do another cycle?
Chairman, I'll just give you the background of the department. There is 159 sworn police officers, 36 civilians. That's come to a total of 195 people in the Department of Public Safety. Out of the 159 sworn officers, there are 13 officers that were terminated and 10 that had turned in their resignation, which occurred just within this last month. 3 had left the department, and there's still pending officers that are going to leave the department. Yes, we do apply for a grant through the COPS program. I just spoke to the director of admin, Ms. Inos, that we're going to submit a application for COPS to try and hire 10 police officers through that program. But I asked her to see if we can exceed that to at least 15, so that way we can hire more. The other thing that I could avail, unless they guarantee me an FTE, I could start with the WIA program, hiring police cadets to go to the academy, so that I could guarantee that if they complete the academy, we can put them in place with the opening of the FTEs that's open to us.
Thank you, Commissioner. You still have the floor, Rep.
One more
Camacho.
follow-up question. Is the cost of these vacancies, is it due to turnovers, officers getting terminated or resigning, or just we're not just getting in enough?
Congressman, I'll be frank with you. Irregardless if I graduate 3 academies in 1 year, because of the services that's needed to augment the community's demand, and also the things that needs to be taken care to keep our department running, it was still not enough. But the high turnover, I could be frank with you, Congressman, is for greener pasture, officers that are looking for a better life. Some of these officers are leaving, which in fact I'll just say one left for she's joining the Homeland Security investigation, and the other one is leaving for to be part of the NCIS. But the high turnover is also salary.
That's what I was gonna bring up.
Some are struggling, and some are living payday to payday, so that they can just meet their livelihood.
Understand. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Rep. Camacho. Vice? Oh, Okay, so let me recognize Rep Flores and then Rep Castro.
Good morning, Commissioner. Thank you for coming. Hi, team. Um, I had the privilege of meeting you way before this hearing, so I'm pretty familiar with what you lack. And one of the things that struck out to me was the revolving fund, which was established initially for DPS, which was aimed to help augment your operation expenses in regard to traffic citations. Am I right? Okay. And then all of a sudden something happened, and that funding source was now removed and given to the Justice Revolving Fund. Am I right? To assist in the HVAC and all this. Is that correct?
I think they temporarily reassigned it to the courts to help pay for their uh, building loan.
Right. Which
And that has been paid, but the funds have not been
Reversed.
redirected back to DPS.
So I think that's the first thing we should do. Is now, since that has been it's been done, they've got their ask. They have a nice, beautiful courthouse there. Their need has been fulfilled. I believe that that now needs to be reversed, and that you at least assist public safety with its current situation and financial standing. So if there's anything I would advocate for, is that first step, which would be to reverse or repeal that law that took that money from you in the first place. And now, since, like I said, it's been done, it's been completed, move it right back. So I would advocate for that strongly in this committee. Second, how many positions do you currently have in the department that are civil service?
Everybody in the department, with the exception of the commissioner, is civil service.
So everyone, okay. And when was there ever a study done on the salaries of those individuals, which is almost 99% of that? Was there ever a study done on the salaries of all of those that are in this status by the Civil Service Commission?
I don't know if it was a study of the salaries, but they did do a desk audit
Okay.
of the entire department.
Do you know when?
2 years ago. I believe it was like 2 years ago.
And who performed the desk audit?
OPM.
Okay. 2 years ago?
Mhm.
Okay.
As for the salaries, I don't.
Okay.
It was never really discussed. I think one of the biggest thing that changed the salaries of the employees was the conversion of the pay scale,
All right.
and I believe that was 4 years, 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago or something.
Public Law 1873 provided an outlet for DFEMS to create its new department under the executive branch. And in terms of public safety, it's very similar, except the one thing that you don't do is fight fires. Correct? Now, if we were to look at 1873 and look at this entire law, I think that you would be in a better position, because then your turnover won't be so high, and your at least salaries can be somewhat negotiable based on your structure. Because right now your structure, God, I cannot see this for the life of me. It's font 2, I think. Your current structure is administrative heavy. You got a lot of administrators, right? Because the function is all this reporting and all of this stuff. But we need to reshift that and start reclassifying that based on the function of the department, which is your current mission is obviously public safety, right, of the public. So maybe that's something that we should meet again soon and look at what that impact could be. Should any of us want to take up that endeavor and compare and see would that be beneficial to the public, and what types of other expenses will the government incur. But I do think that in terms of function, you are not funded. You are so underfunded that you can't even perform your task to meet your mission. One more, Chair. How many detectives do you have currently, which are for crimes, unsolved crimes, or in that division?
If you're talking about unsolved and cold cases, I currently have only 3.
3.
3.
And they are still working on these cases that have been unsolved for 20 years.
To my understanding, Congresswoman, they are actively investigating these cases unless there's information comes in, new information.
Okay.
But until then, they'll continue to seek every avenue how to continue working with the case.
Okay.
Aside from that, if there's like a new cases involving, let's say, and God forbids that a homicide happen, they'll leave that and concentrate on the current until such time there's a solution or that the case is continued to be investigated, that they go back and they continue looking at those cases that they were looking upon.
So in terms of that, with 3 people, do they have the adequate supports that they need to perform their job?
When I came into to office, Congresswoman, I opened my door to federal partners to have a better relationship, working relationship, and part of that is to ask their help in regards to assisting any cases that especially like homicide, that they'll help us process evidence through their crime lab. So currently, it is working, and just to give you a heads up that we do, that the current 2 double homicide, we're still waiting for their analysis, and hopefully that we'll get a solution when we get the answer from them.
And how much does that cost you?
It pretty much sure the federal would help us incur those expenses.
Okay.
But as far as it all depends on the shipping. I think pretty much we're responsible to ship some of those evidence to their facility.
And how much does that cost?
Right now, I don't have the figure, but I'll assure you that when we sit down, I'll give you that figure.
Does that come out of operations?
We haven't paid anything yet, but if in case we do get the invoice, we find the money to pay it
So
to
basic,
one of our special fund.
so special funds. So basically, if the governor or the executive branch took out or cut your operations and you had an incident in which you had to send some evidence so that it could assist you in performing your mission and your duty, and you have no operational funds, you would have to search for money to make sure that that happens. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, Chairman. I yield for now.
Thank you, Rep. Flores. Rep. Castro.
Good morning, Commissioner and team. First of all, thank you all for your service. I know it's not easy. You've been through these types of hearings many years, and the challenges are still the same, if not worse. In light of what my colleague Rep. Camacho said, and also colleague Marissa Flores, I really think we really should look at the root cause of a lot of our police officers, detectives, and personnel at DPS, the root cause of why they're leaving, and you mentioned it earlier. And so thank you, Rep. Flores, for covering most of the questions I had, and thank you, Commissioner, for answering a lot of them. I strongly believe that, yes, in regards to the citation and the funding, the court got its building, and it's only fair that, if not all, at least a significant portion of that funding goes back to DPS, because without evidence, there is no case, and the evidence comes from the frontliners. So forensics lab, personnel needed. We really need to look at the root problems and address it instead of funding overtime. That's a good short-term solution, but we need to get serious in precinct 2 and the rest of all the precincts. I know Rep. Marissa's gonna be like precinct 2 again, but to be honest, organized crime is, you guys know this better than anyone. If the officers are limited and they have to go to sleep and all of that, and the organized crime is a 24-hour operation, by the time you clock in, they already know what's going on. So I think we really need to get serious about funding DPS and the personnel. And in addition, we need to revamp the academy. When I was in college, I was actually accepted to the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, and one of the requirements was a bachelor's degree, right? And I'm not saying we're gonna require that for our police academy, but the training and everything is there. The officers get annual wellness checks, because the military has its own, when people go to war, there's PTSD, but the officers, there's also gonna be some of those same psychological challenges that they're gonna have to deal with. And the resources are never enough, and it's all here in the budget requests. So one of my initial bills earlier this year was to kind of require a CALIA certification for the DPS and having a full-time accreditation officer to make sure that the department gets all that standards that's needed. I know at one point there was an attempt to do that. And that's why accreditation is really important, is because it makes sure that the department is paying officers the amount that's best practice in industry. And then our legal counsel at the time was like, because in addition to that CALIA certification, we wanted, in the bill, it was to also increase the officer pay. And the challenge right now is we're not in the best economic situation to increase officer pay. But if we look at the numbers, the amount we're paying on overtime, the amount that of organized crime out there, we really have to factor those in. So CALIA certification, yes, it's important. What is that gonna do? It's actually gonna make sure that the department is operating in the standards set by the industry, Council of Law Enforcement Agencies. But at the same time, it'll allow lateral transfer, so people from DPS can transfer to other department agencies throughout the nation. So the challenge there is, if we just get certification or accreditation, then you also have a flight risk for your employees to leave to greener pastures. So it has to be both accreditation and a salary increase for the department. But look forward to working with you guys, and thank you, Rep. Marissa, for really bringing out, saying it straight on in terms of funding. But yeah, we really need to get real with this challenge, and I just want to say thank you for your service. Now that we covered like that big portion, I also wanted to bring up the BMV section, and again, this is not to put anyone on the spot. This is more to help and find out what's the challenge so that we can do our part. Recently, when I traveled, I think it was to Guam, and I used my real ID, and even in Portland, there was a stop in Portland, and I tried to use my real ID. It was like rejected. And you know, a lot of us, we pay that amount for the real ID so that we don't have to be like, you know, you feel like you're from a foreign country, and they look at your ID and just like, yeah, it has the star logo, it's not accepted, and you have to bring out your passport. So if it's not accepted like a real ID, then we shouldn't be paying the real ID price. So I just wanted to ask if you guys could speak about what are the challenges with that, because I'm not sure what it is. It was just Homeland Security that said. But from the department, maybe you can let us know so we can help you guys.
Okay, so I know I also went through a car rental agency rejecting my real ID. They can't scan it and all of those things. So first of all, the real ID and the regular driver's license is the same price for now. We already have the money. All we're waiting for is the vendor that's supposed to work it out with the TSA, CBP, and all those other federal agencies that require the real ID. They're gonna work that out with them. All we're waiting for right now is the vendor submit the proposal. Because if I had a proposal right now, we pay it. So that's where we're at. We know all the problems with the real ID. I believe we've all had that issue too. But thank you for offering your help. I think we're okay. Yeah, I know it was a big issue because we owed them around $600,000, but we managed to find money for that, and we will be paying it. Most likely in maybe 2 months, the real ID system will be back up.
Okay. Thank you. Your chair.
Thank you, Rep Castro. Rep. Okay, Vice Chair, and then Rep Beneventi. And
Thank you,
then
Mr.
Rep-
Chairman. Commissioner, good morning to the DPS team. Good morning. OMB, good morning. Thank you guys for joining us this morning. Just a few questions on your financials. How many different revolving accounts do you guys have?
Sorry, maybe around eight or nine.
8 or 9, right?
Yeah.
How much do you guys collect on an annual basis? I know it's going to fluctuate, but a rough number that would.
So, for example, the motor vehicle one, we get that really is a revolving fund. Is when for driver's license, you pay the driver's license, we get 45%, and then we also get the vehicle registration. Those are the two, and then we have the non-essential services, which I believe is the public safety enhancement. We're working on publishing the non-essential fees and regulations, rules and regulations. that's being currently being reviewed by the Attorney General. We also have the impounded vehicles, where the impound vehicles, they whatever we collect, it goes into that fund. The range, the use of the range by anybody other than DPS, they also pay into that. The firearm safety class, and a lot of this are not, they're minimal. Firearm safety class, you pay $20. But the range, if you're another law enforcement agency, you pay 2,500 to use the range for the entire year. So we have those, and then we have, yeah, I think that's about it.
So rough amount, let's say about $300,000 you collect
I
in
think a little more.
a little more, so close.
Yeah.
Maybe let's say 400 on average.
Yeah. The newest account we had, and we discovered it through the through reading one of the public laws, was the registration.
Okay.
We didn't know that we were supposed to be getting the registration fees.
Okay.
So they fixed that when they created Munis, and so they gave it to us.
And did they give you the retroactive payment, or did
I
they just
believe
give you
so.
the updated payment?
I believe so.
Okay, so it's been sitting in an account. It was
Yeah.
sitting in an account.
He was somewhere.
Okay. It's just shooting range. It's kind of 2,500 for a full year. That's pretty cheap, right? If you
Yeah,
think
and
about
we
it.
use it to maintain the shooting range, because it is very costly. Right now, we're also using it to purchase the ammunition, because so we don't have operational funds, but every year we require the officers to get recertified
Recertified.
in order to carry the.
And so does
firearms.
the other law enforcement entities, right?
Yeah, well, if the other law enforcement agencies get recertified, they provide their own ammunition and stuff.
But the annual usage though of 2,500.
Yeah, no,
That's pretty cheap, right?
yeah,
Maybe that's something I know that it's in your purview to be able to increase that. Correct?
yes.
And is that part of the regulations that the AG's office is reviewing right now?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a potential of the increase for the usage of on an annual basis.
Yes.
Okay. How about on a daily? Do you guys have a charge for a daily base use, like a day-to-day use?
No. But if you pay the annual fee, you can use it anytime.
So what about like private citizens, for example, to use the range? What would be the cost?
I believe one company, I don't remember who, paid $10,000 or $5,000 to use the shooting range.
The DPS shooting range?
Yes.
Okay.
But I believe it was, I really don't have the complete
Of
answer to
course.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, they just asked me where to deposit the money to. And this is a Sergeant Hosono, the current range master.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at least that's in the process now. The regulations are being
Yes.
revised and
Yes.
upgraded, and that would actually help assist DPS with get additional funding. How much in grants do you guys receive on an annual basis?
3, 9, over $2 million.
2 million. And of the 2 million, how much is actually utilized for personnel or for operations?
I believe we only have 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 16, 17, maybe around 225. Oh, even this. Oh, that's cops. Yeah, that's cops. So we have like maybe around 30 federally funded staff, but they're not all police officers. So, if I'm not mistaken, I believe we have 6 on motor carrier. We have 3 for the sex offender program, and the rest. Yeah, we still have people under cops, but they'll be expiring in September, on September 30. And when I mean expiring, we've already been paying them for 3 years. And that's
So the grant
requirement, yeah.
expires on
Yeah.
September 30.
Yes.
How many of these? How many employees fall under that?
That's eight.
Eight employees under the caps, right?
Cops.
Or cops, sorry. Then expires on September 30. And these employees are civil service employees,
Yes.
correct? So that would mean that we'd have to cover that from the general fund.
Yes.
How much is the amount to that?
Since these are all only base salaries, so for the 8, is that 2021? Yeah. For the 8 officers that will be expiring, it's like a total of about $210,000.
200.
We also had the one expired in April. What do you know? 4?
These are not flat rate. They have different wages, correct?
No.
Different, all same salary.
No, they're all same salary.
Okay, so
They're all
210.
base salaries.
The 210 is inclusive of the fringe benefits?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And this grant expires and cannot be reapplied, or can we
No,
reapply?
and the one in September, that's 2021. All of them completed it, right? All 8 have been paid for 3 full years. That was when the academy, I believe that's the 23rd academy. Yeah, 23rd Police Academy. We just had one of them close, the 2020 COPS grant. They just closed in April, and 4 of them had to be transferred out. There's still 2 remaining because they resigned, so they didn't complete 36 months.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have to carry them. We had to carry them too.
Okay. So the 2 is already being carried, correct? And so there's 8 that's left,
Yes.
correct? Can we get that provided to the chairman? Because obviously these are civil service employees, and we have to figure out a way to carry them in the general fund. Failure to do that, I mean, we're opening DPS into a situation to get sued
Yes.
for their obligations. So if we can get that to the chair, no?
Okay.
And so obviously the grants are specific to programs, specific employees, and some can be utilized for other operational costs and utility costs, all that kind of payment, no? And I know that Rep. Marissa Flores had brought up, which is the judicial fund building account that was created, took away the fines and fees from getting to DPS, and DPS at the time included fire and corrections. So I think we're gonna have to repeal that law, and it's 2 laws that married each other, and we have to repeal both of them at the same time in order to revert back. But we want to make sure that the regulations that you're working on right now is not affected by the actual existing law. If once we repeal that, it reverts back to the existing law from like the 5th or 4th legislature, and we want to make sure that when we do the repealment, it allows the rules and regulations to be maintained by DPS. And I guess in this situation, fire is also potentially going to get affected. So is with corrections. So we got to make sure that once we repeal those two legislations, that we make sure that the rules and regulations supersede the enabling statute. Because if we don't do that, the rules and regulations that you guys are going to be is being reviewed by the AG's office and potentially approved will be null and void because of the enabling legislation would lock that back in. So we gotta, Rev Marissa, I know you're working on those two legislations. If we can make sure that we note that we remove we allow them to promulgate the rules and regulations and fines and fees and all of that stuff.
I think that those are two different laws.
Yes, there are two different laws. So
Yeah.
one created the
Non-essential.
suspension of
Yes.
the funds going to DPS
Yes.
at the time, no?
Yeah.
And then at the same time, another law created the judicial fund, which took that money away. So we have to repeal both laws, but we got to make sure that once we repeal both laws, that the enabling legislation that created DPS in the first place does not trump the regulations that you're working on.
No, it won't, because that one is a separate public law. That's the one I'm working on with the AG.
Sure.
That's a separate one.
A separate.
Yeah, these are traffic fines,
Sure.
and the ones we're working on are non-essential services. So I don't know if you guys ever remember the funeral escort.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that it won't affect that. That's I forgot what public law that was. That's
Yeah.
not part of the ones that was going to the judiciary.
Okay, but once we release all of this stuff, right? Once we repeal the judicial building and the special account, once we remove that from the judicial, it goes back to DPS. But the enabling legislation that created DPS was more set in stone kind of stuff. Because when we created the enabling laws, were amended later on down the road to allow rules and regulations to be promulgated by the departments and agencies, just so that you guys are more flexible with the time changes. My worry is those two laws, once we repeal it, will revert back to the stone language. So we got to make sure that the stone language is removed so that the regulation still has more authority, you know. And then you guys would know better than us on this and how your office will be more functional or better to provide the services to the community. Once it gets into this lands over here, sometimes it gets really muddy, gets political, and it hurts the department in a sense. You know? So we want to make sure that we take care of that, so that revolving account, those revolving accounts, can actually increase for you guys, both along with the fire, you know, and corrections. But we need to get those legislations out of this body, and we hope that we can get your support once we get it out of the House, so that the Senate would know your position. Because right now, we can't ask OMB how much is in that account, because the payment, the judicial building fund, has already been paid off. That loan should have been paid off probably like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, but it got paid off, I think, in 2021. So from 22, 23, and now 24, there should be money in that account, right? And once we repeal that, it's going to go back to what you guys faced earlier, that there should be retroactive monies going to DPS. No? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Going back to, before I recognize Rep. Flores, those 8 employees, are they under the federal grant page? Can I get those 8 last 2-digit employee number? So we're looking at the submission, and if I'm correct, it's under the federal grant portion, page 420 22. There's a list of under the administrative division, list of employees that are fully funded by the federal grant. There is employee numbers there. So I just need the last two digit of those employees so I can mark them off. That way we can ensure that they will be included
In the new,
on
the police
funding.
officers, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So,
So no need to say last names or just the
Okay.
last two digits, and I'll just.
okay. The first one is 66. Second one is 38. Third one is 21. Fourth one is 58. Fifth one is 63. The sixth one is 51. And the last one is 49. One of them resigned, but that was is it done? Is it done?
What's the number that resigned?
Huh?
Which number resigned?
65.
65. 65.
Yes.
Okay.
That one is I don't know if it's still is it still currently being announced? Yes. It's still currently being announced, but he has that one has less than a year
Okay.
left. When did he resign? This year.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let me recognize Rep Flores, Marissa.
Thank you, Chairman. Some clarifying questions. I guess whoever could answer that, Ms. Enos. So when you mention that everybody is on civil service, this includes your administrative division, this includes motor vehicle division, and this also includes Commissioner's office.
That's correct.
Okay. How much currently does, what is the current amount in payables in your books? How much do you owe vendors? And I think that's an important question, Ms. Enos, because we need to understand how much really your shortfall is. And if we are going to be continuing this discussion of we need to bring investors in, but yet still can't pay vendors for services rendered, then it is important for this body to know how much payables is in your books currently.
We
Would you like to go into executive session?
no, it's okay.
Okay.
We do have a lot, but the biggest ones we had two contracts
Okay.
that was completed in previous administration.
All right. So I'm assuming these are vehicles.
Yes.
Okay. Have any of the vendors ever, I guess, placed the department in a situation where maybe I don't want to use the word threat because that's a very harsh word to use, but further deny any more services to the department because of lack of payment to vendors? Have you ever been placed in a situation where operations would suffer because of lack of payment?
No.
Okay.
Because usually when we obtain services from them, we give them a purchase order first.
Okay.
Yeah. We stay away from the I'll pay you later.
Okay. But
Yeah, we
that's good.
stay away from that.
Thank you.
So we whatever they need, we run all the purchase requests, then we get a purchase order and we provide it to them, and then they're the ones who are required to turn it in.
Okay. Thank you for that, and I think that's very important. The other comment that I had to make, and I was looking at your federal funds, and there is travel here, which I know are, some of them are these all mandated travel
For which?
for any of your federal funds that are, that you receive?
A lot of them are mandated, and then a lot of them are training
Okay,
money for the officers assigned to that area.
okay,
Only the officers assigned to that area.
all right. So inclusive of your budget, does this include the first and second senatorial districts?
Yes.
Okay. How many police officers do you have in Rhoda?
Oh God, I don't know.
How
I
many?
think like 30 something.
I'm sorry?
I believe like 30 something.
30.
Yeah.
And in Tinian?
14.
14? Okay. And I assume they're all civil service as well.
Yes.
And this comes out of DPS, DPS operations?
No.
No. Some of them are paid from the municipality, or 100% are paid from the municipality?
100% are paid for from the municipality.
Okay, good. And my last follow-up, I know we were talking about the disparity in the salaries, and looking at the record that I have, it seems that you have some employees under civil service that were identified in the third legislature. And there was this long break. And then in the eighth legislature, there were more people that went into civil service. Then there was another break again. And then in the 18th legislature, you put on, there's more people again. Now, I understand the disparity. There's people from the third legislature that were approved under this public law, and yet you have someone that comes in the seventh legislature under that public law that put them there at a higher scale, mind you, at the same position. So I understand why the morale is low, and I understand clearly why people are leaving your agency. But I will not tolerate any more of the community at risk because we just don't have the data, or we do have the data and we fail to act correctly to produce laws that ensure public safety, that ensures that you have the funding, adequate funding, to perform your duty. Because just like healthcare, public safety is also just as important. So if there's anything else that you need to say to us to help you, this is the time to do so. Because the public will not suffer anymore because of negligence. The public has a right to public safety at its highest level. And I think the people in your department recognize the disparity. But maybe because of the climates that be back then, people are scared to speak up in fear of retaliation and in fear of losing their job. And that is not fair. There's nothing balanced about that. And there's nothing fair about that either. So I apologize to your staff, but I think moving forward, collectively as a body, we need to ensure that we do better. So this is the time. If there's anything you need to say, please let us know. Okay. Thank you, Chairman. I yield.
Thank you, Rep. Marissa. Rep. Beneventi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner, and Vicky. Thank you for joining us. I don't really have much, most of it is, a lot of it is already mentioned up front, so I'd just like to share some thoughts, despite of the situation that we have in our fiscal capacity here in the CNMI, lack of funds and everything. The challenge is very eminent, and I'm looking at it in a way where, if we can be a little bit resilient as far as the operation is concerned. I know, Commissioner, you have a lot of challenges, and even know your directors and the people below you, and the different divisions and the sections that you have, you know. What I like to see is that I know there are also a lot of expertise that you have as far as your personnel. I know you got a lot of expert people in there that it's been in the system for a long time, and they know basically almost all around. So I was just wondering if, and you're also short as far as short-handed with regards to your personnel. So this is only a recommendation, you know. If you can, I don't know if you're already implementing reassignments or of personnel on a staggered schedule at the same time. It will eliminate a lot of some of the overtime. I know if you do a staggered, it will eliminate a lot of the overtime with the proper approach of reassignment and one in different expertise in different areas. That's for the time being. Aside from the waiting for the the academy and the different like different areas that are specialties in the department, like the forensic and whatnot issues. Those are the concerns that I like to share among you guys. I'm not gonna tell you how you operate the system, but you know this is only a recommendation, and I know also that we're all suffering together. So our people out there are also expecting a lot, and we have to be mindful that we have to be transparent and mindful and make sure that our communities serve as much as possible as we can. I know DPS is a very important department here as well as CHC. It's one of the two of the most important department here is for the safety of the people and to accommodate the sick people also at CHC. So just food for thoughts to you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and you.
Thank you, Chair. Vice Chair Beneventi. Did you need a response from DPS, or that's just your?
Yeah, maybe if the Commissioner can highlight some of the things that I've mentioned, maybe you are already implementing it or what, whatever the type of strategy that you're doing to try to curtail all these shortfalls and whatnot.
Thank you, Congressman Beneventi. First of all, I would like to address the comment from Representative Marisa Flores. Yes, the department currently needs a lot, from training to equipment. Personnel, and it's a lot. Even to bring in the body armor that my officer needs, it's taking time. Excuse me. Even at night, I can't sleep. Thinking of my officers. Just over the weekend, a report of a gunshot that was a citizen just randomly fired their pistol out of their gun, knowing that is it for the people or the officer? So yes, I do believe that a lot of things needs to be overhauled in the department. That's from the top to the bottom. And number one is that the training is what I really want. That's why I open up my doors to federal partners so they can provide trainings that the officers can avail. And not just officer survival training, but even forensic, even leadership trainings. I open this because I need my staff to be in sync of today's society's challenges. There's a whole lot of things that's happening, and yes, funding is the issue, but we cannot just put ourselves down because of funding issue. We have to be innovative. We have to be creative in ways how to better ourselves in working what we have. You know, in the old days, they always tell us, think about tomorrow. Don't think about today. So this is what I'm doing. I'm thinking about tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, you know. So I'm telling my staff that, you know, I have to be very effective leader, because your lives depend. It's hanging on my watch. So I wish that the department can be like a good example, LAPD. LAPD is one of the nation's highest police department. It's been recognized for all kinds of diverse responsibility, from integrating with different kind of people, and then dealing with the society, especially in respect with religion, to those kind of people. The other thing too that kind of hurts me, that, you know, is the fines that the court continues to hold that can benefit the department. I came in 1986. I left the department in 2022. Nothing has changed in respect to receiving some of those fines that will help the department with some of the costly resources that we need to carry out, from materials to human resource to equipment. You know, every sweat that my officer drops on the street only benefits one particular area. It's just the court. And I don't benefit anything out of it. I ask you to please help me find a way how I could continue to serve the community effectively, and be a more determined department to face challenges in the future. I cannot continue to idle and look at the department that is still falling apart, that we're trying to patch up pieces by pieces, work within our means. I want a department to have everything they need for the demand of the community. I am responsible for the community, and I am responsible for these officers. In regards to Congressman Benavente, yes, we cut down from 12 hours to 8 hours. But even with that, I'm still struggling to cover the demands of the community, putting officers out on the street. I even have plans to open up San Roque and Kangman substations, so I could better put presence of officers. But with the lack of FTEs to hire more officers and equipment that I need to sustain to open up this substation, prevented me. But I have plans. But I will assure that I'll make this plan happen, because I am concerned about the community. I'm concerned about response time for officers to those community. it is disheartening too when a person calls from Asmatwis that I have to send the officer from Garapan to Asmatwis, because that's the closest unit you can have. So those are the things that I wish I could have now. So I could better serve the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a follow-up?
I'd just like to appreciate what the commissioner has mentioned, because that was also one of my thoughts of having a satellite station, and one in either San Roque or Matuis, and also in Cagman, because the demographic over there is very high already as far as the population is concerned. So thank you for that, Commissioner, and I thank you because you're still using your as much as you can do with the type of funding. You know, like you said, the urgency of the, especially like when you have a confrontation with regards to violence, or you know, any type of violence, or even shootouts, you know, you have to have the protection. You have to have the bulletproof vest. And you also even have to have a body camera. But unfortunately, like you said, we're never able to fund that up to now. So that's part of our fault. And at the same time, you know, it's just that I don't know how the management of budget and fundings are being spread out. But that's, I would say, it's come to that point already. Thank you, and sorry for the. I hope I don't offend you when I mention, but you know, we just have to address this issue because it's affecting our community too at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Benavente. Thank you, Rep. Benavente. Representative Manglonia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning again, and thank you, Commissioner Macarana's team and OMB as well. Thank you for those sentiments, Commissioner, and I just want to say congratulations and thank you for stepping up to the plate to lead the department. I think the entire community, the CNMI knows that you know, you started from the bottom all the way, and if anybody knows what it takes to run the department and what a officer has to deal with on the daily, it's you. And I just want to express that from, you know, all of us here. We're thankful to have you, and I know times are tough right now. There's a lot of transition going on. Like you said, trying to patch up things as we go along. But I always have hope, and I know as long as you're given the opportunity, as time goes on, that we're going to fix a lot of these issues that are happening with DPS. And again, I'm thankful to have you on board. Pretty much, yeah, you addressed what I wanted to ask about, which was the substations. I know I brought that up in last year's budget hearings, and I know that there's been a transition, so I understand that there's a lot going on. But I just do want to highlight that importance of having the substations, especially in areas like Cagman and you know, up north where it's kind of secluded, and you know, response times you know, can take a little longer. And I do understand the budgeting issues, but again, that's why we're here to listen to your concerns and to help you as much as we can. And again, like Rep. Flores said, public safety is up there, along with education, you know, and our health. And we need to do everything that we can to give you guys the resources that you need to provide the basic, just the basic protections, you know, for your officers, and basic equipment, you know, that cannot go by the wayside. You know, we can't expect you guys to do your basic duties when you don't have your basic materials to function. So again, thank you so much, and I don't require any response, but I just want to commend you guys again for all your hard work throughout the years. I know this whole team here has been in DPS for many, many years, so thank you all again for your service, and I yield for now.
Thank you, Rep. Manglonia. Before I recognize Rep. Castro, will Rep. Flores for the first round. No? We'll let before we go around.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Welcome, Commissioner, and congratulations on your appointee as the Commissioner. As like myself, too, you guys been working with personally back. I also retired back in 2014. And I do understand the sentiment to you feeling, Commissioner. I was there too. I started back in 1988, and I feel what you're feeling. And it's always been a case in every year, every budget, the Department of Public Safety is the department that always short budgeted at all times. The public demands so much for us, for the department to do, but the problem is resources. And I'm looking at the dissemination of Manpower. You have about 74 PO1, 11 PO2, and I don't know if I'm correct, there's only one PO3. There's a lot of high-ranking officers, and there's less officers that are in less seniority. So what we're trying to allude here is we need to disseminate, like every budget hearing I ask for organizational chart for us to look at actually how does the department, where actually the need, in what section, in what section, what department, whatever, what manpower needs to be given. Because yes, every time we need manpower by manpower, but is it a need in that section or is it a want? Right? So that's what we this weekend always look into that, and also it's like overtime. Is it a need for the overtime or is it a want? See, in per shift, I don't know. That's why I was trying to look at it in every shift. How many manpower do you have in every shift? If there's if you keep saying about shortage, so we need to decide how many do you need. Usually, the Department of Public Safety always come out for the SOPs, standard procedures. How many people per shift? So that's we can justify the usage to justify the manpower to have somebody to the Department of Safety to hire. So that will give you the ranking and the manpower so you can have your budget. Yeah, the budget could be, our budget now is shortfall, but at least we can have some consideration for the Department of Public Safety, because safety is first. Right? It's important. The public, anything that happens, who do they call first? The Department of Public Safety. So that's the need that the Department of Public. So in order for us to have the personnel to and up to par, at least to give them something in return. So in that, all I want to say is this: it's just something that for you to ask this body that this is to show us the need. Actually, what's the department need? Yes, the equipment, everything, but we might have equipment, but no manpower. That's what we're what I want to find out from your side is.
Thank you for that question, Congressman. You know, and I know how the department runs. The demand of services outnumbers our personnel. I'll give you an example, CID. There's a whole lot of cases from pending to unpending to questionable investigations. We need people to handle. Currently, right now, I would say like every investigator would handle maybe 15 cases because the shortage of manpower. Even supervisors are investigating. Even commanders are investigating cases. That's how it is in the department now when I came in. Right now, even the assistant chiefs are given some of the tasks that police officers are doing, are given that task so they can share the workload. If the department were afforded more manpower, we could streamline some of these responsibility and give it to the people that actually, based on their PD, their position description, how to handle those kind of responsibility. Um, so I'll give you an example, Congressman. Some of my leaders are going through leadership trainings because they need to know their roles. They need to understand and dictate the people's responsibility. And it goes up the chain. Ultimately, I am the final person that would actually continue to push these people to do what's necessary to carry out their task. But with the absence of manpower, even sergeants are performing a PO1's job, even lieutenants, in fact captains. And it's very saddening to see that these people had a higher responsibility to manage the section or the personnel, that they have to abide their part until such time we fulfill the demand of people that we need to sustain the workload and to decrease the number of overtime. Then we could make that but at that threshold right now, Congressman, we do not have the people to really carry out some of the tasks. This is even a simple task that needs to be carried out. We do not have, but we are really working hard to continue to carry out the responsibility even with the absence of the number of personnel. I just hope I answer your questions, Congressman.
So basically, you're saying your request is for additional funding and manpower. That's what you would like to ask the body for your budget hearing. That's, you're alluding to that because we're like, as colleague Mayor President says, say now what you guys basically want us to help the department.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked that question regarding manpower, is for you to say that this is what you just mentioned, that this is what you need.
Yes, I surely need fundings for manpower so that I could continue to hire police officers. But realistically, Congressman, I also want to see that the position comes with a incentive, meaning it really invites the people to come in and do the work, not because of the passion of the work, but because of the pay, so that we can also accord them with the pay that they're putting themselves into. And yes, I need people. Yes, I need funding. Yes, I need equipment to sustain and continue serving the community that we are obligated to carry it out.
Thank you, Commissioner. Rep Flores, are you? Okay. For the first round, before I recognize Rep Castro, Rep San Nicolas.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Commissioner, thank you for coming. I give you all the credits for all the services that you have given the people of Saipan. In your request for this budget, I have seen like 23 police lieutenant. How many division do you have in your department for now?
I have 3 divisions. Yes.
So in 3 divisions, how many police lieutenant are in that division?
Congressman, I got 17 police lieutenants, and they're spread out within the section, with the patrol, the highway patrol, CID. That includes down at the impound lot, and also the motor vehicle.
Yeah, I just want to verify this. So don't get me wrong, Commissioner, because I am also been in this service, and I'm really into the public service of, especially of the safety of the people. So I'm just trying to verify if because 23 police lieutenant, and there's 3 divisions you have. in one division there might be like 2, 3 lieutenants in there, if I'm not mistaken, or what?
Most of the lieutenants are within the police division. Um, One in motor vehicle. So like I said, there's lieutenants that are watching shifts that are in patrol, highway patrol, marine patrol, commercial vehicle, and CID. So, so like I said, the lieutenants are spread out. It's not like they congregate in one unit. They are spread out because of their responsibility. We need supervisors to man certain areas in the department, especially in the police division.
So each chief, like how many chief you have? Yeah.
There's 4 shifts with
patrol?
4 lieutenants.
Okay, all right. So 4 shift for 1 lieutenant.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Chairman, you.
Thank you, Rep. San Nicolas. Rep. Omar, did you wanna? So I'm gonna go second round. Okay. Rep. Castro.
Thank you, Chairman, and again, thank you, Team DPS. I just wanted to ask, given the challenges with the economic situation, oftentimes when we're limited in manpower, there's also the ability to automate our processes. So in the case of technology, I remember back in the 90s, one of the best crosswalks was actually DPS's solar crosswalks. And imagine, that was in the 90s. And right in front of the MGM garment factory, one in front of Kanoa, and then another one in front of the townhouse and CHC, and then one also, so these were the crosswalks that were flashing on the roadway, and you can really see it. So those types of technology really help prevent accidents and injury. And I know now it's a DPS, it's a DPW kind of situation, but DPS was ahead of the game by getting that type of FTE that was able to get those solar, because you saw the evidence, you saw where the accidents were happening, and I'm sure this all happened during your guys' time too. And the department actually implemented a program that was very effective, and it was using technology. Unfortunately, like from what I heard, I might be wrong, but that personnel was transferred to DPW, and then I don't know if that personnel is even here anymore, because it was a long time ago. But it's decisions like that I hope that we get back to, even though it's funding based, but really investing in technology to improve the performance of the department. And I know you guys are all big on that as well. So for example, whether it be traffic cameras for ticketing, so that the officers, they can focus more on investigation. And because right now it's like, sometimes it's jungle rules when you see the drivers. We also maybe need to reinstate driver's ed, but DPS is gonna run that, and get the revenue to pay the instructors and all of that. Because recently I was at a juvenile, I don't know what you call it, but it was a case, probation or something, but for underage. And there's a lot of underage drivers out there. So it also goes back to driver's ed and enforcement. And like most people, when the traffic light is out, they don't even know the rules of the road. So it's like everything goes. It's only in front of American Memorial Park, everybody seems to understand, and then in CK, they seem to understand that it's a 4-way stop. But there's also that concern of a lot of foreigners that come in, and then they don't really follow U.S. rules of the road, and so
But back to automation as well is cameras. I mean, in the 90s, you had cameras on Hotel Street. That program was, it, I mean, it looked nice. I don't know how effective it was in curbing the red light district. We don't really have that. I mean, maybe we don't see it, but it's probably still there. But really looking at technology to help reduce the workload of the officers, but at the same time improve outcomes. We have a lot of illegal dumping everywhere. So I know you're working with Docomo to get those cameras. If we can get some in Precinct 2 also, Finasiso area specifically, because there is a lot of illegal dumping. And in addition, one question I wanted to bring up is the junk car issue, because I know it's within DPS's authority to cite those things, especially if they're in the roadways. There's a lot. There's a lot of illegal dumping. There's also a lot of junk cars that are happening all over the villages. Some of these junk cars are even parked on the roadways. And, I know zoning would go out there and exit and put a violation, but the car is still there for like a year or 2 years. So in the side of, it's a two-faced question. If you can talk about the plans for technology, using technology like the department has done before, and then also addressing litter and the junk car situation. Thank you.
So in regards to your comment on the technology, first of all, those flashing crossword, those were donated, and they were placed at a prospective area where high numbers of foot traffic are at. So they put those as a test run. Unfortunate that because it was never been pushed to continue to build that, I think it was just scrapped. So we're back again to regular just a crosswalk marking, a crosswalk light sign. But the biggest question that is going to be on our mind is, how often do our people use the crosswalk? The crosswalk can be just 3 feet next to them, but they decided to go to their convenience. What the pedestrian has to know, that walking inside the crosswalk, you have more rights than the moving traffic. You get hit in the traffic light, in the traffic pedestrian crosswalk, you are covered as a pedestrian. So it is a yearly thing, Congressman, where we spend thousands of dollars just repainting with the same, and we're still not in a place where we sit down with the folks from the Department of Public Works to come up with innovative ideas how to enhance our crosswalk markings. But we will continue, the Office of Highway Safety will continue to advocate, to educate the community about the usage of crosswalk. Some of the things they asked me, why can I go out there and put a stop sign? The Department of Public Safety is responsible to enforce laws, not to go out there and erect signs. The Department of Public Works is obligated to make sure that they regulate the highways, they regulate the signs. In order for us to effectuate our enforcement, those things are in place. So going back with the crosswalk again, Congressman, we need to be more. We need to sit with the folks with Department of Public Works and seek their their ideas on how, because I know from the time that you sold those, I don't know what's the new one now. It could be more bright lights, maybe blinking lights on a post. Uh, it could be anything, you know. I'm going to address the abandoned vehicles. Traffic law says that any vehicles abandoned or parked on the side of the road more than 72 hours, I, as the Department of Public Safety, is responsible to remove that vehicle. But if I continue picking up this vehicle, Congressman, the impound lot there will be a lot of cars there. The question is who's going to come in and claim these vehicles? Because some of these vehicles were left to rot there because the owner has no interest. The owner does not want to deal with it. So they rather put the vehicles on the side of the road so that it could be a burden to the government to remove those vehicles for them instead of them finding ways how to get rid of their property. So I know right now the office of the mayor is currently going on picking up these vehicles, um, which is I appreciate because that would lessen my the burden of filling up the impound lot, which is the impound lot is served for more uh, critical uh, reasons like vehicles that are involved in any kind of homicide, vehicles that were impounded because of traffic violations. Those are the things that I need to continue having that impound lot. Until such time there's laws that we can uh, create to make the people responsible to come and take this vehicle away from the then I think that would lessen the burden of the government to search for these vehicles and pick them up and put them at our property, which it is more viable to put other important vehicles that is in violation of the law that cause human or public safety issues is the reason why we need to preserve the impound lot.
So, thank you, Commissioner. I do have a bill regarding the junk cars, and having your perspective as well. A lot of the things that you just mentioned was also in the same bill. So, just wanted to get it from your mouth saying that. So, thank you again for your service, and I look forward to working with you all again. Just
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Yo.
Thank you, Rep Castro. Members, it's almost 12. Want to wrap it up by 12. We'll go one clarifying. Is there any on this side? None? Okay, Rep Beneventi.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioner, I'd just like to ask you if whatever happened to the DARE program? I know you were already in the police department when that DARE drug abuse rehabilitation and education program that was really working good. At the time, I was a PTA officer up in Sam Shanty, and that was happening. It really helped a lot of kids, a lot of people, So I know we were getting grants out of that, but I was wondering, is there any way? Because I know it's still happening in the States. They're still doing it in the States. Is it any way possible that we will be able to revisit that type of approach?
Yes, Congressman. The DARE program is still alive. It has never been abolished. In fact, I've already sat down with Chief Cesaris that I'm trying to reopen back the Law Enforcement Explorer program, the DARE program, and the JPO, so that we can get the kids involved on a daily basis. But as far as the DARE program, Mr. Chairman, can I have Chief Saris come up and explain more about the DARE program?
Morning, Chair. So apparently the three youth programs that we have for the department were on suspension at the time. For whatever the reason, it is not in my place to say. It's above my pay grade. But for sure, we've been having that conversation, and we've had a lot of talks with other youth programs. So they're really looking forward for assistance in regards to those programs. So we're gonna come back.
Thank you, Mrs. Horace, for that clarification. um, Flores, so short one.
Thank you, Chairman. I like how they just give me instructions. In terms of the DARE program, Officer, Lieutenant, Captain, I'm not sure, your chief, okay. In terms of resurrecting that program, and in terms of the commissioner's vision and his drive for being innovative and thinking outside of the box, may I recommend that you start this dialogue, or at least offer a dialogue to start and build collaborative partnerships with DYS, who also has some funding, right? And they can leverage and we can share. The Commonwealth Women's Association is another nonprofit that will be maybe interested in partnering up with this particular objective that you guys have, because there's money for that, both federal and maybe not local, but on the federal side. But if you can leverage and be innovative in how you would like to increase your funding resource to support even just one, right, for the next fiscal year, and design a goals and objectives plan, right, and maybe start off with 30 kids. The public school system is one of the biggest agencies where you can leverage a lot of their funding, because a lot of their funding is geared towards education, right? And maybe touching base with their board of directors would also be a good way to leverage some funds, right, to augment where we're short on the local side. Also, do you, Commissioner, receive a percentage of any federal funds that the CGPA Council receives?
Yes, we do.
Okay, and how many of the grants under CJPA are you a part of this grant funding source? Because there's 5, I believe. I see there's VOCA, there's sexual offender. Is that the only 2?
No, there's Victims of Crime Act, and then the Violence Against Women Act, and the Justice Assistance Grant.
Okay.
Those
And
are 3 different.
okay, so 3 justice assistants. How much?
Huh?
How much do you receive, a percentage or even a dollar amount off the top of your head, do you receive from VOCA?
We only, so for VOCA, we apply for the underserved victims portion, which we're the only applicants. I think that we're the only ones who can apply anyway. So we get that. That's around between 40 to 60,000.
Okay.
And then for VAWA, that's the one that supports the Family Violence Task Force.
Okay.
So there's a law enforcement portion. That's around $100,000.
Okay.
And then there's sexual assault under that. That's around $40,000
Okay.
that we get every year. And then the Justice Assistance Grant, it's competitive
Okay.
and it supports the entire island. So there's usually only around 160,000 available a year for everybody. So DPS, that one currently supports CIB for training and a little for drug task force. Um, we actually do a little give and take because you have $1 million submission and you only have 168,000 available.
Wow.
Yeah, so we get around 40 some thousand out of that.
Out of the 160.
Yeah. I mean, we're okay. It supports the drug court programs.
Okay.
There's a lot of programs that the K9.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You have a lot of programs.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's not our programs. Those are not our programs.
It's a collaborative partnership amongst others, but
Yes.
right. Okay. So my last question. Earlier you stated that when you don't have the money to pay, you look for it. I'd like to know what that process is. Because if DPS is a non-revenue generating entity,
Okay.
are you able then from grants, federal grants, are you able to transfer within there?
No.
So that means then if you can't do that, one is suffering to pay for something else. So services, basically, as much as you want to provide the best service, someone or one unit or an agent or a department or division within your unit will end up having a consequence as maybe less operations, less travel, less equipment, correct?
Yeah, so when I said we find money, we do have revenue generating special funds. For example, motor vehicle, uh, non-essential. When let me give an example. We had the guard services when FEMA contracted our police officers to guard the lumberyard, the one in Cobblerville. We made 2 point something million dollars out of that. We were using that for a very long time. That's where we find, that's where we pay for our shortages.
So last question, do you have any more federal funds from the pandemic left?
Well, there's no more. There's about 6,000 from that guard services, $2 million collection. There's like maybe 6,000 left. We have a little remaining from FEMA that we're wrapping up. We're using for its intended purpose. Otherwise, we don't have any more.
Thank you, Ms. Enos. Thank you, Chairman. I yield.
Thank you, Rep Flores. Okay, just a few clarifying questions under the federal grant before we wrap up. Under the COPS program, I do notice September 30, 2027. Is that for hiring? Is that the grant expires in 2027, or and can this be used for hiring the vacant positions? Under page 419.
sorry, can you repeat your question?
So on page 419 under the federal fund section, um, there is a cops hiring program and there is a date of 9/30/27, and there's a funding balance, I guess over 700,000, that can be used for hiring the new, I guess, if there was a new cycle.
Okay, I don't know. Yeah, I don't have that with me. I don't have that. What you're talking about?
Okay.
If you could bring it up, I can
Okay.
see it. But I think you're talking about the new one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like a new one, so
It's,
it's under the federal fund.
okay, we're currently announcing that.
Okay.
That was supposed to be part of the supposed academy, but it's
No, no, no. Federal fund. Page 4. Go down. No. Volume 2. Yeah, that one. Yeah, 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 it's right there. We're going, Joe. Joe, sit down, Joe.
Which one again? Cops?
yeah, that's it.
Yes. It's in the middle page. There is funding. So I'm just curious, is that a new grant?
Yes. Yeah,
And
yeah.
and the expiration is you have until 2027 to use
Yes.
that. Okay.
Okay, so that's the newest or the latest COPS program. No, we're gonna use that to hire.
Right.
Nobody has been hired under that
Correct.
grant program.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know the aid expiring, and those aid expiring employees can't be transferred to the new.
No.
It has to be transferred out.
Yes. No.
Okay.
It has to be a new one.
Have to be new one. Now the one right below it under the DPS Smart, there is funds to 2025, which is next year. There's a little funds available for hiring as well. Is that Smart for hiring new person? What personnel that is actually police officers or?
Yes. There are police officers assigned to the sex offender unit of CIB, criminal investigation. They monitor these sex offenders
Okay.
out there. They update the sex offender registry, and the only people who can be paid under here are those officers assigned here. And if I'm not mistaken, there are 3.
Right.
And then we also pay for a program manager for that particular grant
Okay.
who applies for it.
Okay. All right. So that's clarified. My last is I noticed that there's no fuel expense under federal grant or the federal fund portion. Why is that?
So the only ones who pay fuel are the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration grant and the Recreational Boating Safety grant. They're the highest of the federal grants.
So none for patrols.
No.
That's locally funded
That's
or
all
the
locally
revolve
funded.
assessor fund.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I did know. I did know that there with I guess a little over $500,000 is remaining in your special fund. Is there any provision that needs to be clarified because it's not being used? Or are you guys gonna? Is the department gonna tap on the special fund? And is there a lot of restriction to those funds?
No, so we're like for example the motor vehicle one, we're paying. That's where we're getting the money to pay for the real ID. of like 500,000 some.
So it's mostly from the real ID. These are real ID balances.
No, there are. I don't know these balances.
Oh. So none of the special funds going to be used for the fuel and other expenses.
No, we're currently. Did you say there was 500,000 there?
Yeah, under the special fund, there is an available over 5.5 million. I mean 550,000.
What is that?
And I guess most of it is under, I guess the DPS U2. There is an amount that was remaining.
Well, there is, whatever's left over of our special funds, that's what we're using now to pay for gas.
Okay.
CUC.
So it's not a restricted.
Not a lot of it.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
they're not restricted.
All right. That's what I wanted a clarification of if there is any restriction to those special funds. That's about it for me. Any last before we? Okay. With that clarification, thank you, Commissioner, for having you and your team. I know there's with the transition of you coming in, there's a lot to catch up on with regards to especially the administrative part. There's even myself that's been doing budget for so many years. There's always something new, so I always have to ask a question, and I'm sure you have many questions. You have a good team. You have Miss Kay and Miss Delos Regis there that behind you. So with that, if there's none, I'll hand over the closing remark back to you, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much to this August body to allow me to come with my personnel to come before you and express our gratitude of allowing us to say how can you continue to help the department. I just wish that that everything that I want, a wish list that would happen. But because of our courage, I have to understand. Like I said, I still operate on within our means, and some of those means too that we exceeded because why? Because of services to the community. Uh, none of the the expense that we incurred is for personal or for anything that's for our benefit, but basically it's for the community itself. Um, One of the biggest thing that I really want is to revamp our uniform. As you know, X numbers of years it's been transitioned from different colors of uniform. To finally, I decided that we should go back to when the department was established, and to continue the tradition and the culture of the department is to look for better enhancement to meet the challenges of today and tomorrow. Um, I just wish that there's something that a miracle can happen, which I know is just a fairy tale that a miracle will happen, but anything will help that would continue to uh, improve the department, sustain the personnel, uh, make them a. We recognize that the officers that are working in the department will continue to push themselves to betterment for the community and themselves. As a leader, I took this responsibility because I know where I put myself into. That my objective is to help both the officers in the department and the community itself. But we cannot do as much because of what our current situation. But I will continue to serve the department as much as I can to to continue to be recognized and to get the respect of the community that we are diligently trying to at every means to help them out as much as we can. And lastly, I want to thank you again for hearing me out. I apologize for my emotion because I know how it feels to be out in the street. I've been through these officers' shoes. I know how they've been through all kinds of hardship, all kinds of duress that they when they meet with the community out there. I know how I feel. That's why I was so emotional, and I apologize for my emotion. But as the saying goes, men say they don't cry, we do cry. Okay? But I cry because I know how it feels. I thank you again, and I hope that in the coming years that we will be in a better place. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Macaronas. Your wish list is going to be a reality because I'm sure Rep. Marisa is almost done with that bill. We're still waiting, diba? Your bill,
Which ones of the
the
bills?
judicial.
Oh, yes, we are getting that done.
So it's just a matter of time. With that, being there's none, thank you again, Commissioner, and your team for making yourself available today at the Ways and Means to hear out your concerns and your requests. Um, and surely, if there is more funding, right now we're only dealing with languages, so any way we can help the department, I'm sure that'll be one of our priorities moving forward. And with that, the chair will now adjourn at 12:13 p.m. Thank you, members, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you.